Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a bracelet today, much like this one right here. I got some happy friend mail from my friend Diana, my sweet, sweet friend Diana. She sent me all sorts of beautiful beads. And in there was this bracelet, and it looked like it had broken. And I was talking about how I've made many of these before. And so a few of you asked me to make one like this, to show you how to make one like this. And I'm going to, this one did not take, I just repaired this one. It did not take much repairing at all. It was just broken a little bit. So I just repaired it and put a clasp on it. But I'm going to make one today. Mine's going to be a little different. This one uses 8 super duos around, and I'm going to do 10 super duos around. The one with the 8 here makes your little flower, the center of your little flower, pop up more. Kind of makes it domed there. And the way I'm going to do it, it's going to be flatter with the 10 super duos. It's going to make it lay flatter. And I just wanted to show you the difference. So I'm using opaque green, turquoise, white luster super duos, and chalk lilac luster super duos, and metallic dark bronze 11-0 Miyuki seed beads. And then I've got some little 4mm sandy colored glass pearls here that I'm going to use for the center of my flower. And I've got a toggle clasp and a couple of jump rings, a couple of wire guards. I've got a couple of size 11 tulip beading needles. I'm only going to be using one, but I always have an extra one. Sometimes I use it to add on thread, and sometimes I just need it in case I lose one. I've got my 8-pound fire line and smoke. I've got my scissors to cut my fire line. And all I'm going to be using for tools is my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers, and to put the findings on at the end. And I use the chain nose pliers to flatten my thread so that I can get it through the eye of the needle. And that's everything I'm going to be using. So hold on and I'll get some of this out of the way and get some of my beads poured out, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got some of my beads poured out here, and I've got my needle threaded. And I'm not leaving much, I've got a stop bead on, and I'm not leaving much of a tail at all because I'm going to sew my wire guardian on as soon as I get my first little flower made. So I'm not going to even need to sew this back in. I'm going to sew around this flower a lot of times, and my thread's going to be in there well enough that it's not going to need to be sewed back in. I like to do that, to sew the wire guardian in as soon as I can, if I can, on a project, to get the stop bead out of my way and all, and it's easy to do in this. So, like I said, my little flowers are going to have 10 super duos. So I'm going to pick up 10 super duos with an 11-0 between each one. And like I've said before, when you're working with any 2-hole bead, it's a good idea to check as you go and make sure both holes are open. Because every now and then, not very often, but every now and then you'll get one that one of the holes is blocked. And it's a real bummer to get to the second round of whatever it is you're doing and discover that you can't get through that second hole and have to go back and take it all out again. So it's worth the time it takes to just check as you go and make sure both holes are open. I'm going to take this all down here to my stop bead. I'm going to double check, make sure I've got 10. Because you don't know how many times I've got my little flower made and discovered I only had 9 or 11. Or maybe I had 2 super duos right next to each other with no 11-0 between. So now I'm just going to go back through a few of the beads, the same hole of the super duo and the 11-0s. get it into a circle there. Now I am big on reinforcing because I'm not a very tight beater, but I've discovered in this particular project that doesn't serve me well, because the part here with the 11 O's between it is going to be the outside of our flower. So we're going to have to get this part without the 11 O's between it to the inside. And if I get this outside part very tight, it's hard to get these to go in. So I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Trying to get my stop bead out of the way here. Well, I think I just almost took it all the way off. So I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Yeah, I took my stop bead too far off. Okay, I'm just going to go through a couple of them, and I'm coming out of a super duo. I'm going to pop up here into the top hole of this super duo, the hole I've not been through yet. And now I'm going to go around and go through all those holes that I've not been through yet. Just the second holes of the super duo. And as I go around, I'm going to try to push those into the center of my little flower here. I'm just going to go through a few at a time. Pull them into the center as I go. Till I get all the way back around to the beginning, where I started. Let's stop bead out of the way there. And push everything down flat. Tighten everything up. Now I'm coming out this side of this super duo here. Coming out this side of the super duo here. I'm going to pick up one of my little pearls, 4mm pearls. I'm going to find the super duo exactly opposite that. And since there's 10, that means there'll be 4 super duos on this side and 4 on this side of the 2 beads that I'm working in here. So that would be this one. So I'm going to go in the second hole of this one. Pull my thread through and make sure my little 4mm pops up here, up on top like that in the center. Now I'm going to go back through my 4mm. Tighten this up again. I'm going to find the super duo that I started in, which was this one, and I'm going to go on the other side. I started coming out this side. I'm going to go back in this side. And that gets the center of my flower in there. Now my outside's still really loose, so I want to tighten it up. So now I'm going to go back up into the top. I'm coming out this super duo here. I'm going to go back into the top hole. And I'm going to go back through all the super duos and all the 11 O's again. The top hole of the super duos and the 11 O's. And just make sure you get through all the holes and your needle doesn't sneak out on you. I'm going to pull tight as I go. And you can go around this little flower as many times as you feel like it needs to be to get it good and tight. You'll be able to feel when it starts to get tight. And I'm beginning to feel that. So I'm going to sew on back. I'm going to keep sewing around till I get back around here to my stop bead, because that's where I would really rather sew my wire guardian on. Okay, so I'm coming out this 11-0 here where my stop bead is. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s. I would have done this with an 8-0, but I forgot to get my 8-0s out, so I'm just going to do it with 11-0s. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s, or you could pick up an 11-0 and an 8-0. I'll go through my wire guardian. Go back down through the other channel of my wire guardian and back through the 11-0 under my wire guardian. I'm going to pinch my wire guardian so the thread lands in the channel. I'm going to pick up another 11-0 and I started out with my thread coming out the bottom of this 11-0. I'm going to go in the top of it. Now I'm going to go back up this 11-0. Back up the 11-0 under the wire guardian. And back up one channel of the wire guardian. I got my stop bead caught that time. Okay. I'm going to go back up the one channel of my wire guardian, back down the other channel, and back into the 11-0 under the wire guardian. Pinch the wire guardian so the thread lands in the channel. Go back down this 11-0 on the other side. Back through the 11-0 that's attached to my flower. I'm going to go back up through these all one more time. I'm going to go back up this 11-0. Back up the 11-0 under my wire guardian. Back through the one side of my wire guardian. I'm going to go back down the other channel of my wire guardian. And back through the 11-0 under the wire guardian. pinch the wire guard in. I'm going to go back down the 11-0 on this side, back through the 11-0 that's attached to my flower, and now I'm going to cut off my tail thread because it's not the beads are not going to fall off now. Now I'm going to sew back around the outside of my flower through the super duos and the 11-0s. Until I come out the 11-0 that's exactly opposite the 11-0 that I sewed my wire guard to. Which would be this one. So I've got my first flower done and my wire guard on. Now I'm going to make a little right angle unit here to connect my flowers. So I'm going to pick up, I've got one bead of my right angle unit. I need 4, I've got 1, so I'm going to pick up 3 to make a little right angle weave box. I'm coming out the top of it, I'm going to go in the bottom. Now I'm just going to reinforce it. Go back through all the beads again, one at a time. I'm going to come out this 11-0 here to make my next flower. Now my next flower is going to be pink. You don't have to do different colors flowers. You can do all the same color. You don't have to put anything in the center. If you want to just leave that center open, that's pretty too. I'm going to pick up 10 of my pink super duos with 11-0s between, but I don't need an 11-0 between my first one and my last one because that's what this 11-0 is going to do. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a super duo and an 11-0 until I have 10 super duos on here. Okay, I'm going to check again, make sure I've got 10. And I didn't pick one up at the beginning or at the end because that's what this little super duo is going to do. So I'm coming out the bottom of this 11-0. I'm going to go in the top. Now I'm going to go up through a few of the beads, the same holes of the super duos and the 11 O's, till I'm coming out of a super duo. I'm going to pull it up tight, and now I'm going to hop up here into this hole that I've not been through and start going the other way, going through all the holes of the super duos that I've not been through yet. I'm going to try to encourage them to go inward as I'm going. Push them in. I'm back around to the beginning now. I'm going to pull tight. And when you pull tight, they'll go in. Now I'm going to go through them until I get between these two super duos that are on either side of this 11-0. You don't have to. I just do that every time just so that I know what side of the super duo I'm coming out of, and I just do that every time. Just it's kind of a landmark for me. I don't know. If you're using a round pearl like this, it doesn't really matter. If you're using something in the middle like a bicone or something, it probably would matter which one you were coming out of. But since this little pearl is round, it's not really going to matter. But I just always do that. So I'm coming out this side of this super duo on the left of my, or on the bottom of my little connection point here. I'm going to find the one on the opposite side. So I know there's going to be 4 between it, so that would be this one. I'm going to go in the bottom of that super duo. Pull my thread through. Make my pearl go in the middle. Now I'm going to go back up through the pearl. And now I'm going to go in the other side of that super duo that I started in. Pull everything up tight. Now I'm going to go through another bead or 2 here on the inside. Now I want to reinforce my outside now. So I'm coming out the second hole of this super duo. I'm going to go in the top hole through that 11-0. And I'm just going to go through all the top holes of the super duos and the 11-O's. Until I get this flower tightened up. So I'm just going to do that off camera. Y'all don't need to see me go through all these outside beads. And then I'll come back and I'll do one more, and then I'll leave y'all alone. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back around here this far now, and I'm going to sew down here until I'm going to be coming out the 11-0 exactly opposite where I made this little right angle weave unit, which would be this one right here. So I'm just going to sew around until I get down to that one. My thread hung around my scissors. Okay, now I'm going to make another little right angle weave unit here. So I've got one, so I'm going to pick up 3. I'm coming out the top of this 11 0. I'm going to go in the bottom. And I'm going to sew around it again, just going through each bead one more time. And I'm going to sew around till I'm coming out this one here on the end that I can connect my next flower to. So next I'm going to do a turquoise flower. So I'm going to pick up 10 turquoise super duos with an 11-0 between, but I'm not picking up an 11-0 to begin with because that's what this 11-0 is going to do. Okay, I'm going to have to stop just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I felt a coughing fit come on and I didn't want to cough in y'all's ears. So I've got 10 of my turquoise super duos on here with an 11-0 between, but I didn't pick up an 11-0 at the beginning or the end because that's where this one comes in. So I'm coming out the bottom of this one. I'm just going to go in the top. And now I'm going to go through a few of the beads through the same holes and through the 11-0s until I'm coming out of a super duo. Pull it up tight. Now I'm going to jump up here into the hole that I've not been through yet. And I'm going to go through the second hole of all the super duos, and as I'm going around I'm going to try to encourage them to come in on the inside of my flower. I get back around here to where I started. I'm going to pull it up tight and push all my little beads to the inside here. Flatten them out. Now I'm going to sew through another one until I come out this one here. Coming out these two here where my right angle weave unit is. I'm going to pick up one of my 4mm round glass pearl beads here, and I'm going to go to the opposite super duo from the one I'm coming out, which would be this one, and I'm going to go through the bottom hole. I'm going to go through the, back up through the 4mm. And then I'm going to go in the opposite side of that super duo I started in. Now I'm going to go through a couple more of the inside holes. And then I'm going to pop up here into this top hole of this one I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to go around the outside of this flower again to reinforce. And then when I get around it as much as I think I need to get it good and tight, I'm going to come to this opposite 11-0 here and do a right angle weave unit, and then makes my next flower. And I'm probably going to do about 10 flowers. This other bracelet had 11 flowers and it was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. So I'm probably going to do about 10. Plus these, these are bigger because I'm using 10 instead of 8 around. So I'm probably going to do about 10 flowers. I probably will run out of thread, and when I do, I'll come back and show you how I'm going to add thread, but it's the same as I add thread to anything. I'm just going to sew back through and tie 3 half-inch knots and then put a new thread in like I do on pretty much everything. But if I have to add thread, I'll be back. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I've got 8 little flowers made here, and I need to add thread. So I'm coming out this super duo here. I've not been around and reinforced the outside of this flower yet because I decided I would just wait and do it when I add in my new thread. So I'm just going to go under this thread bridge here, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, go through a couple more beads, go under my thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, go through a couple more beads, go under my thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, go through a couple more beads to get away from my knot, and cut off my thread. Now I've got another thread here, and I've got a stop bead and about a 6-inch tail, so I'll have enough to sew in. And I'm just going to come back down, back in here, probably start in this little right angle weave unit here. Just pull my thread through till my stop bead stops it. Go back around my little right angle weave unit here. Go through a couple of beads. Get away from that stop bead. I'm going to go under this thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, almost knotted on me before I wanted it to that time. Now I'm going to go through another couple beads, Go under this thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, go through a couple more beads, go under another thread bridge, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly. Now I'm going to go through here until I'm coming out the bead I want to come out to make my next right angle weave unit. Which would be this next one here. So now I'm in position to make my next right angle weave unit and make my next flower. And then I'll come back and take this stop bead off and sew this thread in with 3 half-hitch knots. And then when I get my last flower made, I'll just sew my wire guard on this end in the same way I did this one. So when I get all that done, I'll be back and we'll put the clasp on. Okay, I've got all my little flowers made now. Now all I got to do is put my clasp on here. So I've got a 6mm jump ring. Just going to put on my toggle ring. And another 6mm jump ring. And put on my toggle bar. And I think this might be a little bit bigger than I meant for it to be. Let me measure it here and see. Yeah, it's right at 8 inches. So if you were going to make this, if you didn't want it to be that long, you know, you could leave off a flower or two. But there we go. Little flower bracelet made with super duos and some little 4mm pearls and some seed beads. So hold on, I'll get some of my beads cleaned up and I'll get both these bracelets laid out here and I'll be back. Okay, there we go. There's both bracelets. A little bit different. This one with the 8 super duos around and this one with the 10. This one just lays flatter. Again, I want to thank Diana for sending me those beautiful beads. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope y'all have a great day. Take care.